Howdy everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over something that keeps popping up in my DMs about how to do it, how to best set it up, and among other things, this one just seems to be the most popular ever since we went over event controllers, timer blocks, how to set them up. This one action seems to be the thing everybody wants to be doing and try to make it easier. The way I have it set up is going to make it easy to do, especially if you don't understand event controllers and timer blocks very well, but it's also going to make it expandable to where the more floors you have, you just add a few more blocks and all that. And I probably just gave it away, which is elevators. So when it comes to elevators, the setup is going to be the same for however many floors you have. The only thing that's going to change is adding a few more blocks possibly, maybe a second button panel depending on how many floors you have, and then grouping pistons instead of just calling on one to actually move. So let's go over it. We'll start from the beginning and I'll run you through it. Alright, so starting out, this is what people are normally going to use. You have your piston, whatever you use for the actual platform, whether it be a full elevator room, whatever it happens to be. Concept is going to be the same. So normally what people will do is they'll come in, they'll make the action reverse piston, which in reality, that works just fine. If you only have 2 floors, that's what you're going to do. What we want to do is make sure that the piston is not going to get obstructed by anything. So that's why we have half blocks here, and I'm only using 1 piston, but if you were to use 2 pistons, make sure share inertia tensor is ticked on. That way you have as little wobble as possible going upwards. That'll be the downfall of any elevator. The less pistons you have, the better it's going to be. So first, what we're going to want to do is actually put down 4 event controllers. So we will just put 2 there, and just because my OCD is there, 2 there. Now, we're going to need 4 timer blocks. So 2 there, and 2 here. Next, we're going to need to name all of these. It doesn't matter which one's which, but I will show you the naming process once I get done with it. Alright, now that we have all of our stuff named, we're going to start from the beginning. So our piston is all the way down. It's to a point where we can easily walk on it, do what we need to do. So if we go in, we're going to make the first timer block, the first floor. We're going to bring its delay all the way down, set up actions. It is going to be decrease velocity. And then we are going to turn on the first floor event controller. Now, if we go to the first floor event controller, we are going to set it for piston position equal to or less than 0%. To see where the piston is at in its current location, which we will need to see later, you're just going to move that threshold up and down. It's not going to do anything because it doesn't know what to do yet, but that's how you figure that out. We're going to go to select actions, and we're going to increase the velocity of our piston because we decreased the velocity with the timer block. So if we increase it here, it will bring it back to 0. And then we are going to turn off that event controller. Now, since we told it to turn off, let's go ahead and tell it to turn off now. Hopefully that makes sense so far. Follow it. Cool. Alright. Next, we need to go to the 3rd floor. That's going to be the next easiest one to do, because all we have to do is tell our piston to go up. Let's go to our piston. Let's set its velocity however much, just to get it to go all the way to the top. What I'm looking for as it comes up is that it doesn't get snagged on anything. It just kind of glides right on past, which is good. And then as it gets to the top, we want to make sure it's in a location where it's going to be easy to walk off of and walk onto. So that looks pretty good. So we'll just leave the limit for that at 100%. So if we go back in, we do our 3rd floor timer block. Bring the delay all the way down. Set up actions. We are going to increase velocity because the 3rd floor is up. And we are going to turn on the 3rd floor event controller. Then we go to our 3rd floor event controller. Change it to piston position equal to or greater than for this one. We're gonna put it at 100%. And then add our elevator. And then we can jiggle that a little bit to make sure they're both at 100%. And then let's go to setup actions. We are going to decrease the velocity for the piston. And then we are going to turn off the 3rd floor event controller. The reason I am turning the event controllers off, or having them turn themselves off, is because when it gets done with its process up here, I don't want it to constantly be looking. That way, when we press a button, we don't have 2 event controllers trying to look at the same piston and trying to do the same thing. Or not the same thing, but different things. And then we just gotta make sure that event controller is turned on. Good, I like it. Alright, so let's do those 2 really quick and see if they work. So if we go to our button panels and we go to setup actions, I already marked the floors that we need to do. So we're going to go to, there it is, 1st floor timer block, start. And then we want our 3rd floor timer block all the way at the end. So we'll just drag that one down and go to start. So now, if we come on our elevator, don't forget to go back to your piston and set its velocity to 0. You want to make sure it's at 0 every time you go to test. And there we go. We're going to go down. This should take us down all the way to the 1st floor. Gonna need some elevator music. But there we go. Beautiful. Love it. I like it. Now, let's go back to the 3rd floor, but we have to set up the buttons on this panel the same way. So we're going to get the piston off of there. We're going to make 1st floor start, and then 3rd floor, the last one, start. So now if we hop on our elevator and hit floor 3, we can see the event controller is looking, which means the timer block, whichever one it was, actually triggered, which is nice. So now we can go from the 1st floor to the 3rd floor with no issues. The one thing we got to make sure of is if we go in, we want to go to our 3rd floor event controller and it is turned off, which is good. We want to make sure these turn off when they're done, so we're not double dosing with event controllers on one piston. Doesn't usually end well and things tend to get confused. We are now able to go from 1 floor to 3 floors. So we got to get this one done now. But to do that, we're going to need 2 event controllers and 2 timer blocks just to go to this middle floor. Because what ends up happening, oh god, as I fall in the hole, is there's really no way to tell an event controller, how do I explain it? The event controllers themselves will do an action for if the piston is lower than whatever that's going to be to send it up towards it, otherwise send it down. But then you need another timer block to activate that event controller itself, and it gets more complicated than it needs to be. So we're just going to do it this way because it's simple and easy to follow, and then you can take this method and just keep going upwards with it. But for our event controllers, we're going to go, since we're on the first floor, we're going to start with the first floor. So we're going to go 1 to 2. Bring the delay all the way down. Set up actions. We are going to increase the velocity of the piston. And then we're going to turn on the event controller 1 to 2. Now this is where we got to do a little math. But just to save you some time, the distance between these 2 floors here is going to be about 4.79. So that's what we're looking at in between the tops of the 2 floors. So if we go to event controller 1 to 2, piston position, equal to or greater than, since we're going up, choose our piston, and then if we put the threshold at 47.9, and then go to select actions, we are going to decrease velocity on the piston, and then turn our event controller back off. Now, let's go ahead and add it to the button. So many options. Set up actions. We want our timer block 1 to 2. Start. So if I did the math right, and hopefully I did, because this would be kind of embarrassing if I didn't, we should end up right about at the 2nd floor. Hey, look at that. I sometimes know what I'm talking about. Now, let's go ahead and set those same actions for this button panel that we have so far. So we should have floor 1, which is right here. Start. Floor 1 to 2. Start. And then 3rd floor on the last button. Start. Then we should be able to just make our way up here, add the same ones to this one. So we need our 1 to 2 on the 2nd button. Press start. Now we do have 1 button left, and that is going to be for our elevator timer block 3 to 2. So we can go ahead and put that in there while we're up here. And if we want to set that up, we go to our 3 to 2 timer block, delay all the way down, set up actions. It is going to be decrease velocity because we have to go from floor 3 to floor 2. then activate the 3 to 2 event controller, or just turn it on, I'm sorry. And then if we go to our 3 to 2 event controller, we go to our piston position, and then we want to go to equal to or less than the 47.9. And then we choose our elevator piston. Select actions. We are going to increase velocity because we're going from 3 to 2. So to bring it back to 0, we want to go increase. And then turn off our event control. So now if we did everything right, we should be able to press floor 3 and our elevator comes up. That elevator music would actually go in handy right now. Ooh, there we go. Now if we hit 3 to 2, this should bring us right to where we want to be on the second floor. Hey, look at that. Now if we hit floor 1, we go all the way down. Our timer block is turned on, and if we watch, it turns off. Cool. Now we go floor 1 to 2. Timer block is turned on, looking, and turned off, and we're on floor 2. Pretty simple, right? Hopefully that helps you out a little bit with how to set these up. The easiest way I would say to make this bigger or to increase to more floors is to add a second elevator in general. You can add a second piston, and instead of doing let's just choose this one. Instead of the action of just the piston, you would have to group the two and then choose this group itself instead of just the piston. That's how you'll do that. But each floor in between, you're going to be adding 2 more event controllers and timer blocks, and as well probably another button panel. Just for aesthetic purposes and having only 1 button panel, I think I would just add a second elevator to go all the way up. But this will work. If you are watching our live streams over on Twitch, I do try to be on every night at 10 p.m. You'll see that this is what we're going to be using to go to the hangar of our base. So it'll be nice. It might be a little bit bigger, but it'll be good. But with that, I will leave you guys to it. Hopefully this helped you out enough to understand how elevators work, how to make them, and kind of how to expand on them, and hopefully get into more and bigger projects. If there's anything else you suggest that I should do a tutorial on for building and constructing, as far as automating stuff like this, go ahead, leave a comment down below. Otherwise, go follow me over on Twitch. I go live 10 p.m. most days, and well, 10 p.m. Eastern, I apologize. And join the Discord down below. You can join our public server where I'm going to be building one of these elevators, and come out, hang out, fly around with us, build up a nice base of your own, and see what we get into. But with that, I'm going to bid you all adieu, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good night, everybody.